I prefer to live the broke life. Every problem is a project, and every project has a solution.
I want the biggest skyscraper in the world. People are lost. That's just a zombie driving.
What's going on, guys? We are out here in Miami Beach, sitting here with Zain, my brother. Let's
Awesome.
go.
Awesome to be here, man.
We're gonna dive into some business talk, basically just pick each other's brain. We were just sitting here talking for 30 minutes already, so it feels like we've been podcasting. But let's dive into this. So realistically, a lot of businesses are doubling down. We were just talking about that. A lot of businesses are pivoting because of changes in the world.
Yep.
How is your business pivoting or doubling down right now that any other maybe entrepreneur that owns a business can take from and learn from? Let's start off that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is during COVID, a lot of people had inflated revenue because you had so many people that went from working at work in an office setting or being out there to so many people just confined to the four walls in their home. And when you look at that, it's absolutely insane in my mind because you are guaranteeing that 99% of the population is staying within the confines of their home. So with our business, we actually install solar. We have to go there. We have to install solar panels on homes. We have to be a part of that process. And we were lucky because we were deemed essential at that time. So we never had a point where we had to cease operations physically. But a big part of our product doesn't require any man-to-man or human contact. The sales side is usually the side that's most affected by something like COVID because there's so many people in the industry that acquire their business face-to-face through door-to-door.
Right.
So we just took all those people. We have thousands of people. We took those people and we shifted them all to online. And it was just a quick emergency response. We're gonna do everything online. That's gonna be what we focus on. And we had one drop in a month. And then as soon as that drop happened, we had our biggest month ever. And we continued to pop off. And we learned how to operate within a virtual environment, which is really hard, especially when you have 1,000+ contractors, you have 100+ employees, W-2, that are all working virtually to build a business. Now, what I learned adapting with COVID and then after COVID was a big portion of my business was built during COVID. We went from a point where we were doing legitimately $15 or $20 million in revenue to doing over $100 million, essentially everything remotely. All of our employees were working remotely.
So that scale happened during COVID?
Correct, during COVID. So now when you transition back to people being back in person, people going back into office, the difficult part for us as a business is we grew so much. We did over $150 million last year. This year, we're going to do almost double that. So when you look at that, it's really mind-blowing. Why? Because we built this huge business. We had all these employees. Because we were building, again, within the confines of COVID, what ended up happening was we had people all over the world. We have people in New Jersey, you have people in New York, you have people working in Canada, you have people in Florida, California, which are all spread out. So they're not centrally located or centrally working. Because again, during this whole kind of COVID thing and this lockdown environment, we hired hundreds of employee W-2 that are salaried workers. So now as we transition back into more of a normal state. Right. The world is coming back. The world is correcting. Things are going back to normal, right? All of our people were separated. Now, as great as it is being separated, there's something that you get with that face-to-face interaction that you can't get virtually.
Correct.
When I hop on a Zoom call with someone, we usually have an intention and a purpose of that call. So again, we're gonna operate within the intention of the purpose of that call, which can be efficient. But there's so much magic that happens that's creative that only happens with one-on-one conversations and face-to-face in-person energy. I also believe in person, there's things that you come up with that you just never would come up on a Zoom call because again, you might be distracted, you might be going on Instagram, you might be going on Facebook.
Right? You're in the moment.
It's not there. Yeah. And there's that human element that we need no matter what that will never be replaced. So now, I think one of the biggest difficulty for my business and so many businesses is especially one like mine where we never had a massive in-person environment because that's not when we started. We have to now build that in-person culture back, but we have all this great talent that's separated. And we can't let go of this amazing and great talent because we continue to grow and scale as a business. But we definitely took a culture impact. So now to build that culture with that in-person environment and have those special moments, can't let go of those people, but what we can do is bring on new people, confine them to a certain area, bring them together, and allow that magic to be created. So I know there's a lot there, but that's a big part of what impacted my business and where we've gotten to, but there's a lot we can learn from that.
That's huge, bro, because even in what we were just talking about our business, taking an online model and then making it a community thing.
Yeah.
Kind of takes a online business model, everyone's remote doing their own thing, don't need to be together, but if we can incentivize or promote them to come together in community,
sure, that's
when you're going to be able to take that remote work and then bring that in-person human element to things. So,
yeah, and I believe in, like, I don't want to bring down the virtual environment, the future of the metaverse, et cetera.
Oh, it's huge.
I think they're massive accelerators to humanity, but the one thing where people get carried away is I don't think it can ever replace human to human contact. Right. Like, as a society and as a civilization, that's something we are always going to need to even survive. I think if we move to a completely virtual planet, hypothetically, I don't think it'll ever happen, but if we actually move to it, people would enter a state of depression. I don't think people would be happy.
From instinctual, right, or almost like an animalistic level as a mammal of human, bro.
Yeah.
Our very nature.
Again, my vision on technology is the stupidest thing anyone can do is resist technology.
Right.
Resisting technology is just going to put you behind. We need to learn how to adapt to technology and utilize it to enhance our life and continue to allow us to actually have more in-person moments and more time with the ones that we love. That's how I view technology. When I hear about those, I'm like, cool, maybe I can get a little bit more of a human element. Maybe I can get a face-to-face business experience, but then because I didn't need to go travel for this business meeting, now I can go and spend time with my loved ones in person.
Right. I think there's a lot of businesses suffering because they believe everything's going to go back to normal, which means not using technology. But once people were exposed to Zoom calls, they're like, I get a way better engagement in my meetings when everyone's cameras on and they're forced to listen, or maybe even better than an in-person environment. So there's a lot of businesses that went during COVID, including my own, online, heavy, and then you miss out on that culture community element, so you have to restore that.
Correct.
But then you find like this
balance where it's like,
high touch.
Oh, I don't necessarily need to fly across the world just to have this one meeting. I can do this via Zoom, but then I can have this meeting with 30 people all in person where we meet at a central point, and it's great, right? So it's all about taking the best of the best, and what I think it did is it exposed all these people that were just reliant on an in-person basis of work. It exposed them to the other side and how much more efficient you can be. And like I said before, as long as you don't resist technology and you figure out how to incorporate it into your life, it should only print more time and efficiency for you.
Right. That brings me to, it's interesting, I was just on an Uber on my way here from like downtown Miami area, and I'm talking to the guy, and he literally straight up tells me that he prefers to live a poor life. Right? In Spanish, he's like, I prefer to live the broke life.
Sure.
And I said, why? And he goes, well, my boss owns a house in the islands of Coco Plum in Coral Gables. Like, so the guy owns a house in Bal Harbor, owns a house in Bahamas. They took a boat. He was just telling me nonstop this guy is working. And for that reason, I like my life, because I'm not working all the time. It's like he's working nonstop and he has all this nice stuff, but he doesn't enjoy it. And that, you know, as an entrepreneur myself, I work a lot. You work a lot.
Sure.
And I've had people tell me, like, Jay, you always working. Like, when are you not going to work? Don't you want to do this? Let's talk a little bit about maybe what people don't want to acknowledge is, like, does work feel like work for you?
When I look at my life, I don't look at it as work. I look at it as life. When someone asks me, Zain, why do you work so hard? I always ask them, why do you breathe every day? And I'm like, what do you mean, why do I breathe every day? Yeah, why do you breathe every day? Why do you wake up every day and make the cognitive decision to breathe every single day? Well, I don't, Zain. I just wake up and I breathe, because if I didn't breathe, I'd probably die. My answer is exactly that with work. I view work as breath. I believe if you are not working, you are not breathing, but invisibly you are dying. You might not think you're dying, but invisibly you're dying. Right. I believe that everyone needs a mission and they need a purpose. So now if I'm working, right? Why am I working on solving a problem that's so great, and why am I not driving an Uber, right? My dad was a driver. My dad grew up his entire adult career. He was essentially driving taxis, Ubers, all this stuff. Why do I not do that? Well, I go back to, if I have a decision to use my God-given talents, to use my mind, to use my abilities, to go out there and actually make a difference and leave the world better than it was, why would I not use those? Why would I cop out and just say, oh, rich people aren't happy, they don't get to enjoy the nice things in life? That is the biggest cop-out statement I've ever heard in my life, and you hear it consistently. That means that you gave up. That means that you don't believe in yourself. It is good having money.
Yeah.
It is good having resources. It's nice to be able to buy time. When I think of money, I do not think of money. Actually, I was just looking at a study. There was a study where there was a Harvard professor who followed 15 CEOs with the average revenue of each CEO's company being $10 billion. So these are some of the most successful CEOs in America. And they asked them, what's their time like? And a lot of times, or it was a graph of their time. I believe it was like 30% of time spent on personal stuff, 5 or 10% of time spent on vacation and leisure. And then it was like 60% of time spent between sleeping and working, essentially. So I looked at their time, and this guy was talking about the study and how he followed these people. And the most fascinating point to him was that every minute of their day, the most scarce resource that they had was not money, it was time, okay? And when they looked at time as a scarce resource, all that CEO was doing every minute of his life was finding ways to print more time into his life. Therefore, that means that time is far greater and far more valuable than anything in that person's life, because the more time that he can create, the more time he can have for himself, the more time he can have for vacation, the more time he can have to create and do more stuff. That CEO was never, ever, not 1 minute, oftentimes in their day, doing something that was a menial, repetitive task. All they were doing was guiding a group of people to do certain things. You can only do that with money. So when you take that down, maybe your average viewer is not going to ever be or even aspire to be a $10 billion CEO, but let's say you make 50 grand a year. Why should you want to make 500 grand a year? Well, what you can do at 500 grand a year that you can't do at 50 grand a year is you can hire a maid to come and clean your house. You can have someone do your own laundry. Maybe you can have someone come and give you a meal plan. Maybe you can have someone go out there and order your coffee for you. Whatever it may be, you get access to more time. And the more money you have, the more time you have, the more life that you start to print.
Right.
So I always view it in that way. That's why when people tell me, Zain, why do you work so hard? Again, I go back to this question, and I'm being nefarious about it and facetious about it, but I always go back to them and I'm just like, why do you breathe? Why do you make the decision to live? Right. To me, that's the stupidest question one can ask.
When we're talking about like this time and we're talking about people's perspective, maybe the average viewer's perspective of entrepreneurship, of work, and you know, if someone were to sit with you for a day that's working a full-time job, could you say that, like, I know for a fact, if you leave your job to sit with me for a day, even at my level, not at your level, at my level, you'd be like, oh, dude, I don't want to do this. Like, this is, you're like working when you're not working. And it's, you know, we say this thing in our business all the time. We say, like, they have the American dream, but so many people are asleep, right? And it comes down to, when you view work, you view work as work and not work as, like you mentioned, life. Like, I work to live. It's not the opposite way around. Like, some people are like, I get out of work, I clock out at 5 p.m. Okay, kick my feet up. I'm not thinking about building anything. It's relaxed time. My day's over. How can we change those people's paradigm? What do you think? Because these podcasts are great, but some people hear it, oh, that's BS.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, these guys are work, life, whatever, dude. This beer and this beach is life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how could we help people open their eyes if they don't create multiple sources of income in a time like now that things are changing now? They're not going to be able to chill. They're going to be chilling. We're going to face. You can't live off credit forever, right?
I think it's a decision. It's a decision that you have to make. If you're not willing to make that decision, no one can make that decision for you. If I have a child and I want that child to do something, I can tell them to do something over and over and over again, but that's not going to change them. They're only going to be influenced by my actions and my decisions and what they think is right at the end of the day. So when I look at someone who is not motivated, who's lazy, who's not willing to get up and work for themselves, the last thing I'm trying to do is make a unmotivated person motivated. I have no time to put motivation into unmotivated people. A lot of times people just get this information that they need to settle, that they need to relax, just by being in the system, watching news every day, and the stuff that they watch on TV. Those are the things that influence them.
The worst. People, do you ever talk to anyone? I mean, are people that I talk to, that doesn't happen often, but sometimes I'm at like an event and people are like, yeah, you know, you saw on the news, and I'm like, no, I have no clue of what is going on outside of what I can see from my balcony,
Right.
what I can see on my timeline, and my timeline is filtered by my interests.
Yeah.
So I don't follow anything that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm looking to see.
Yeah, 100%.
I think when you break down to people that no matter what you believe in, and you mentioned like God-given gift, you know, no matter what you believe in, who you believe in, if you believe in anything,
Sure.
every principle goes back down to work. You know, like if we're not building something, if we're not pursuing a vision bigger than the wake up and just menial grind, then we're not going to be happy. There is no pursuit of progress. There's no pursuit of growth in every area of our life. If we're pursuing something bigger, then we unlock the happiness. So it was interesting, you know, sitting in that Uber, and I'm just hearing him out because, you know, I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm like, well, tell me more,
dude.
And I love to hear their mind.
Because, dude, people are lost. That's just a zombie driving. In my opinion, that's just a zombie driving. That's someone who has no purpose, and it's one of the saddest things to see.
Yeah. In a world today where there's such a diverse or a fine line, there's like a big divider. And it's like people that view happiness as this and people that view happiness as this. And then it goes back to the question, can money buy happiness, right? And people, oh, well, you know, I come from a family where it's like, be grateful for what you have.
Sure.
Like, you know, like want more, but you don't need all that extra stuff. That's for those people. Like as long as we have a nice car, it works, we're good, you know? And as an entrepreneur, obviously, we're challenging ourselves to expand our mind, think bigger. What can we do that hasn't been done before? And kind of be like those pioneers, maybe the first people that looked at Mount Everest and said, I want to climb that, right?
Sure.
It's kind of like, that's how I personally am looking at life, right? It's like, that's my life. I want to climb that. I want to go into the unknown. Let me pursue what's
There's something
done.
so beautiful about progress. Progress is unbelievable, and being able to make progress and move towards a goal is the best and most fulfilling feeling that anyone can ever have. Whenever you accomplish a new goal or a new height, there's nothing better than that feeling. Even though it took so much work to get there, even though you probably had so many different obstacles and barriers in the way, once you achieve that new height, all it does is it makes you feel super good, but then it inspires you to now take it to another level and do another thing. And life, I always compare life and business to one thing, and that's a building. Life is a building, and when you're born, you have this foundation. It's up to you. Do you want to have a skyscraper, or do you want to be sitting in a ranch? It is completely up to you. You want to sit in a one-story ranch? Cool. That's the life that you want to build, and you're happy settling there. I want the biggest skyscraper in the world, and the only way to build that skyscraper is to continue to build a foundation of each floor and just go one floor, one floor, one floor, one floor at a time. And a lot of people, they're willing to just settle.
So I'm at a point in my business now where foundation, scalability, building new floors is essential for me to get to that next level, right? Where scalability and delegation are coming into play now more than ever, and building teams in areas that I really know nothing about. And I would imagine early on in your career, building your company, it got to the point where you're like, okay, I can't just subcontractor all this shit out anymore. I have to start building a team internal. What does that look like? Maybe for the entrepreneur watching this right now that's hit 6 figures or multiple 6 figures and they haven't hit 7 yet, or that 8-figure mark, and they need to delegate, they need to scale to get there. Where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is, and like step number 1, plan A, is you have to do it yourself. Right? Everyone has to do it themselves.
The first time,
right? If you don't do it yourself, you're going to be leading people without any practice. And I don't believe in that. I think in anything you build, like again, I'm not a solar installer in the sense of I don't go and I've never been on roofs installing solar myself, but I've sold the product. I've seen the product. I know everything about the product. I've been in the homes. I've talked to the customers.
You could probably tell someone how to do it.
Correct. Yeah. But I'm in the weeds, right? That's the whole point. I didn't just enter an industry and say I'm going to hire all these people, go and figure it out. No, I had to go step by step. But I had to be there at first. I had to be there every single day doing the activity by myself. And then I had to bring in one other person. Okay, cool. How about you help me do this thing now and we can build an empire together? Cool. Then I bring in another person and another person, another person. Next thing you know, you look down and you're like, holy shit, I built this huge organization of different people that do different activities in my business. So whenever people ask me, how did you grow so fast? How did you hire so many people? My answer is really simple. I just showed up every single day. I made a plan and I executed upon that plan. And as long as you continue to execute upon a plan consistently over and over and over again, people will come. But you need to have a goal. You need to have a vision. You need to have a purpose. You need to have a dream. If you're just building something and there's no purpose and dream in front of you, why are people going to want to follow you? They'd have no reason to follow you. And as long as you have a vision, you have a clear vehicle, and you have a business, and you've done it yourself, the whole process just builds itself. The reason people stop growing and they stop scaling isn't because they're above their ceiling, isn't because they don't have the skill sets. It's because they get to a place in their business where either they make the decision that they're okay with being where they're at, dying, right? They're not growing, they're dying because they got complacent and they made a decision to stay where they're at, or they lack vision. They lack a goal, they lack a dream. They're just aimlessly growing every day with no goal in sight.
Right, just kind of throwing shit at the wall.
Correct.
Seeing if it sticks, and next day throw the shit at the same spot.
Exactly.
So hypothetically speaking, I'll run you through a scenario. For me personally, this weekend I'm launching a project that I've been working on for the last 6 months, and this is the first time me doing it by myself.
Yep.
And I'm already thinking, okay, how can I outsource? I need a full stack development team. I need graphic designers on payroll. I need video editors on payroll. I need all this stuff so I can keep duplicating this process. What would you say in delegation is the most important thing to outsource first? Obviously time, based on what you said. Whatever you're doing repetitively that's consuming most of your time, is that where what did you delegate first? What was the first team you built to build your solar company?
Yeah, it was sales, right? Because I started in sales and I had to duplicate myself with sales. So my process was super simple. I did it first, I mastered it. Okay, I mastered it myself. Then I needed to create a process to do it again and duplicate myself. So I created a system, I created a process, I created a training, then I brought someone through that system, that process, and that training.
So like SOPs.
Correct,
right?
Exactly. So once I did that and I built the SOP and the framework of what we need to do, then the next step was doing it again.
But
rinse
you
and
built
repeat.
that.
Correct. I built it
You built
myself.
the SOP,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, I had to at the beginning, right? It was the first SOP, and at the time I didn't know what an SOP was, but it technically was an SOP. I was like, okay, cool. You wake up every day at this time, you do this thing, you leave your house at this time. Here's what your pitch is. Once you get a customer on the hook, here's how you close them. And I made a whole process, wrote it down, and then I just trained one person on it. Cool, I trained one person, then I trained two, then I trained three. Cool, now I have a little bit of a team. Now the next step for me to delegate is leadership, because I'm the leader here, but if I leave, these guys are gonna die. I need someone there to take care of them, to make sure that they continue to grow in the business.
Go build another team somewhere else.
It's not even just another team. I wanna do that too, but let me replace myself as a leader. So now what do I do every day as a leader that makes me successful? Okay, let me standardize that. Let me create a training around that. Let me create a system and a process around that. Then let me take my best A player out of these 3 or 4 people. Let me turn them into me. Cool, now I'm gonna manage it closely. I'm gonna be like a drone. I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna make sure everything's going good. Then I'm gonna come down if they need my help. But then I'm gonna go back up. I'm gonna monitor that. Cool. Now let me replicate that again and again and again. Okay, now that I've solved this sales problem and I have these teams, now I want to be an installer. I want to go and I want to conquer new heights. I want to continue to grow as a business. So now I want to actually not only sell the deal, but I want to install the deal. Cool, I've never installed before. I don't have any desire to become an installer myself and go up on a roof, but what can I do? I can hire some installers. I can work with them on a day-to-day basis, and I can see what they do. I can learn the process in and out. I'm a smart guy, and we can start going. Cool, I build one crew out. They're installing 1 deal, 2 deals, 3 deals, 5, 10, 20 deals. Okay, cool. Now they know how to install. Now let me replicate that. Let me find someone who's much better than me who can go out there and run that day-to-day. And my entire business has just been, again, over and over and over again, going into a system, going into a process, learning everything about it, and placing a leader there to continue to build it. To a point where now there's so many functions and activities where I never even had to be in it. I never even had to be the leader, because I have leaders that now can build other leaders. And now I can sit up there from a 30,000 foot view and give vision and direction to those leaders and what and where they need to go, but it continues to keep building. So really it comes down to, at the beginning, you got to do the hard work. You got to be a part of all of those day-to-day conversations. The hard work never goes away. It just elevates to a different level. Yeah, it's just a different type of work.
Hard.
Yeah.
It goes from like
it's physically maybe less
repetitive
hard.
steps, yeah.
But it's also like physically less hard.
Critical thinking,
but it's
more
mentally
harder.
more hard, right? You got to think more about it. You got to take more responsibility.
You're the problem solver at the ultimate level. Right?
I mean, at the end of the day, that's all business is, right? To me, the reason I got into solar is because I believe when you take away someone's energy and power, that is the root of everything. You take away someone's energy and power, you take away their ability to cook food, you take away their ability to refrigerate and store food, you take away their ability to go to the bathroom and shower, you take away their ability to sit there and entertain themselves, watch TV, whatever it is they do, you take away their ability to drive their car. Like, you take away energy and power, you are truly controlling planet Earth. So when I got into the industry, that's the problem I wanted to solve. I was like,
that's the cause.
We have this technology. We have the ability to scale it, not just in the United States, but across the entire world. We can bring power to literally every single human being on planet Earth for the first time ever. Why? Because today, if we want to get power, it's done through an ancient archaic system where we have poles and wires that are brought underneath ground or above ground, and I have to use this company. Well, for the first time ever with solar, we're giving people choice. I have the ability to go into a third world remote village where
you did recently.
Yeah. And they have no ability to get power, right, in that third world remote village because they can't build a grid system. This grid system is a multi-billion-dollar grid system that in a remote foreign part of the world, like the Congo you said, there's gonna be villages that don't have access to a grid system at all. So they can't even get the wires, they can't even get the electricity, they can't even get the power. Solar, someone like me can go over there and bring them solar panels and power up their entire village for the first time ever. I can bring them electricity. That's what true freedom is. We have this technology, and the best part is, in order to create the energy, we don't need to take away from anything. The sun comes up every fucking day, and if it doesn't, we all die.
Right.
So as long as the sun comes up every single day, everyone can be powered forever.
So basically, nothing has to die in order for power. I love that.
That's why I do it. That's why I wake up every day. That's why I work so hard, because I know the purpose is so great.
Well, I would argue that every CEO, every entrepreneur has that same mission.
Correct.
And they have
and it doesn't need to be like, I'm not sitting here and I'm Batman, and it doesn't need to be this big thing, right? All it takes to be an entrepreneur is finding these voids in the marketplace and filling these voids with a solution. That's it. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I was recently reading, every problem is a project and every project has a solution. And it talked about these two American students that went to India for the first time back in the 80s, and they had seen millions of people walking barefoot. And one of the guys says, man, that's really sad, poor people walking without shoes. And the other guy immediately went to the drawing board, went back home, dropped out of school, started a company, making shoes out of plastic, selling them for 50 cents, and it became $1 million company within 2 years.
Is that Tom's? I think that's Tom's.
No, it starts with an H.
Got it.
They're out of business now.
Got it.
But they were around for 50 years.
Yeah.
They're out 1970s
Yeah.
or up until like 2009. They were bought out by Sears, JCPenney, Sears
Got it.
Downs, whatever. But yeah, so like that perspective is every problem is a project. Every project has a solution.
When people say, Zain, I want a business to start, I just don't know what to get into, it's very simple. If you want to start a business, go into your life and look at the products that you use and the things that you do on a daily basis.
And what you believe in. Right?
Yeah, and what you believe in and what you like and what you're a part of, and then find a void. Just find something that you don't like. Like if you literally, like I'm giving the coffee shop example because it's so simple and easy for people to understand. Walk into a coffee shop locally and you're like, dude, I've been to 3 coffee shops and every single one of these things have a huge line. I can't get my coffee quickly. It's consistent half of the time. Sometimes they mess up my order. It doesn't taste good. That's a big enough void to say, if I'm going through that problem, there's other people who are going through that same exact problem. Let me bring a solution for these individuals. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't need to be something crazy or game changing or as big as solar power.
Right.
It can be something as small as filling up a cup of coffee, doing it the right way, and doing it with the speedy system. That's it.
Right, and just finding that void.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, we've been able to talk about multiple huge, profound topics that you guys will probably pick one of these and dive into and maybe have that breakthrough, or maybe have that shift that you're looking for. But everything from being able to pivot as a business owner, no matter the climate, no matter the world goes through, and being able to adapt and then maybe go back and take some of those things away and keep some of them and now implement them as a part of our forever thing, right? Because we realized we did so well.
Yeah.
And then also being able to understand that you're going to have opposition, or you're going to have people that on your growth and on your journey, they're going to think you work too much. And you might have someone in your ear. You know, if my fiance, for instance, is kind of like that person that's like, she enables me to disconnect a little bit and maybe appreciate the more human things.
Sure.
I'm like, I'm sick.
Go.
I'm sicko, you know. I can wake up at 8, jump on my laptop, go to bed at 1 on my laptop, do it all over again.
Yep.
And I was doing that for a lot of time. And yeah, you'll get further in that aspect, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But I think watching this today, you guys have kind of learned, like, work and life kind of go hand in hand. There shouldn't be a separation. Your work is not your job. Your job is your pastime. Your work is what you do and what you build.
Correct.
And as long as we're pursuing something like that, you know, we can go and hit new levels. And then lastly, the whole problem, right? The whole problem, like entrepreneurs, if you want to become
and just be like motivated to solve problems. Like we need more people that are motivated to solve problems. Again, just look at your life and look at your purpose and ask yourself, why am I not contributing to the world? Like when people say, oh, Zain, you're so focused on time, that's so selfish. Now I look back at them and I say, no, you're selfish. You're selfish for not contributing your time.
Yeah.
That's how I view it.
Yeah. I have limited time because
I'm selfish. I'm selfish for not taking you on vacation or not going on vacation. Fuck you.
Yeah.
What do you have to do? Be useful, right? I just saw Arnold Schwarzenegger. He has a book coming out called Be Useful, and I absolutely love that because his entire life is about being useful. His dad would,
legend.
And his dad would always tell him, "Be useful, be useful." It's so true. When you wake up every day, be useful. If you find yourself sitting around doing nothing, be useful.
Fire.
Yeah.
Well, you guys got a lot of gems. Hopefully we get another one in the books. We're in the talks and appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I appreciate you.